Good morning. I'm Brian Pearson, Superintendent of Gaylord Community Schools. I've worked at Gaylord for 30 years now, but I've been here for much longer than that. I was actually a student at Gaylord Community Schools, and when I grew up, I loved books. And this is a book, actually, it's called I Want to Be a Cowboy. And one of my favorite books is, as a child, and actually, my mom actually wrote in here my name in 1964, and you can see this book got quite a bit of use. So, important part of my life was the literature and the experience that I had reading as a young boy. As I grew up, I carried that tradition on and read to my two sons that are adults now. And this book was actually a book that belonged to my younger son. And my mom has a habit of writing in here the book and the year. So this was given from Grandma and Grandpa to Cameron. And it's a book, the name of the book is called Alfie Gets In First by Shirley Hughes. So it's been a while since I read this book, but I'm happy to share it with you this morning. So I'm going to put on my glasses and let's start Alfie Gets In First. Alfie Gets In First by Shirley Hughes. One day, Alfie and Mom and Annie Rose were coming home from shopping. Alfie ran ahead because he wanted to get home first. He ran all the way from the corner to the front gate and up the steps to the front door. And you can see Alfie, and here's his sister, and there he is running ahead. Then he sat down on the top step and waited for the others. Along came Mom, pushing Annie Rose and the groceries. I raced you, called Alfie. I'm back first, so there. Annie Rose didn't care. She was tired. She sat back in her stroller and sucked her thumb. There's Annie Rose, and you can see there's a little cat there looking at her. Mom put the brake on the stroller and left Annie Rose at the bottom of the steps while she lifted the basket of groceries up to the top. Then she found the key and opened the front door. Alfie dashed in ahead of her. I've won, he shouted. Mom put the basket down in the hall and went back down the steps to lift Annie Rose out of her stroller. But what do you think Alfie did then? So here he is rushing inside the door. And here he's inside, and it looks like Annie Rose and Mom are still out. He gave the door a great big slam. Bang! Just like that. Then Mom was outside the door holding Annie Rose, and Alfie was inside with the groceries. Mom's key was inside too. So here's Alfie inside the house. Open the door, Alfie, said Mom. But Alfie didn't know how to open the door from the inside. The catch was too high up. Mom looked into the mail slot. Try to reach the catch and turn it, she said. Alfie tried, but he couldn't quite reach it. Can you put the key through the mail slot, asked Mom. But Alfie couldn't reach the mail slot either. So here's Mom and Annie Rose outside the door. You can see Alfie not quite tall enough to reach that mail slot. Annie Rose was hungry as well as tired. She began to cry. Then Alfie began to cry too. He didn't like being all by himself on the other side of the door. Just then, Mrs. McNally came hurrying across the street to see what all the noise was about. See Mrs. McNally here, and here's Mom outside, and you can see Alfie inside. Not sure what to do. She and Mom said encouraging things into the mail slot, but Alfie still couldn't open the door. Go and get your little chair from the living room, and then you'll be able to reach the catch, said Mom. But Alfie didn't try to get his little chair. He just went on crying louder and louder. And Annie Rose cried louder and louder too. There's my Marine, says Mrs. McNally. I'm sure she'll be able to get help. I'm assuming Marine's maybe her daughter. Mrs. McNally's Marine was a big girl. Right away, she came and joined Mom and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally on the top step. Might have to break a window, she said, but I'll try to climb up the drain pipe first, if you like. But Mrs. McNally didn't like that idea at all. Oh no, Marine, you might hurt yourself, she said. Just then, Alfie's very good friend, the milkman, came up the street in his milk truck. So here comes more help. When he saw Mom and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally in Mrs. McNally's Marine all standing on the top step, he stopped his truck and said, "What's the trouble?" So they told him. "Don't worry, mate," the milkman shouted. "We'll soon have you out of there." So the milkman came, peering through the mail slot and talking to Alfie. "Looks as though this lock's going to be difficult to break," said the milkman. But then Mrs. McNally's Marine had a very good idea. She ran to ask the window cleaner who was working up the street if he would bring his ladder and climb up to the bathroom window. And of course, when the window cleaner heard about Alfie, he came hurrying along with his ladder and as quickly as he could. So I think that's the window cleaner across the street right there. Then Mom and Annie Rose and Mrs. McNally and Mrs. McNally's Marine and the milkman all stood on the top step and watched while the window cleaner put his ladder up against the house. He started to climb up to the bathroom window, but when he was halfway up the ladder, what do you think happened? Here's everybody outside, and there's Alfie. The front door suddenly opened, and there was Alfie. He had managed to reach the catch and turn it like that, after all. He was very pleased with himself. He opened the front door as wide as it would go and stood back grandly to let everyone in. Then the window cleaner came down from the ladder, and he and the milkman and Mrs. McNally's Marine and Mrs. McNally and Annie Rose and Mom and Alfie all went into the kitchen and had tea together. The end. Thank you.